All right, so there's a lot of, well, I wouldn't say, I don't know. There's people worried about censorship on the forums. I know we talked last time that you were trying to rein back the mods a little bit. Can you give us more on what's acceptable on the forums, what's not acceptable on the forums? Like, where's the line drawn for archeage, since it is such a sandbox game and kind of in your face, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're posting on the forums, the main line for us, if you're posting towards other players, is never go into real life with it. Like, if you, smack talk's okay, you know, being a little PvP, that's absolutely fine. But the big thing is, if you take it into a real life situation, you start insulting who the person is and not the person's character, then that's going too far for us. We want to make sure that that's not on the forums. The forums are sort of be like a neutral space, like a place for everyone to come, everyone to talk about the game, and sort of like, you know, meet some friends and meet new guilds. We want to rein some of that stuff back that happens in the game from happening on the forums. On the other side of things, if you're offering critiques or criticism of the game, we love that. I mean, that's the bulk of my reports, so that's the stuff we need to have. But when you're giving any of that, you want to make sure to sort of be constructive about it. Coming in and just, you know, yelling expletives about any staff member of the company at large isn't going to last too long. It also doesn't help us make anything better. That's the more important part. It doesn't help you get a better experience in the game. So when we see stuff like that, that can be moderated as well. But at the same time, we want to be friendly to players. If you see anything wrong with, you know, or you're concerned about a different moderator's call, you can always contact us at community@trionworlds.com. Once you do that, you know, I usually look at those emails. It takes me about a week to get back to people because there's a lot of other stuff that I need to do and review. But that is really important for us to have. And we want people to actually make use of that. If they're like, hey, you know, this was a bit strict or harsh, we want you to make use of that address and let us know. I am always talking with the mods so they have a better idea of how the archeage community works, you know, and we're constantly making little tweaks and improvements to make it a better experience. But if you're really not all about that and you still want to, like, have a community experience, there are other places to go too. We understand that not everyone, you know, wants to be at our environment. So there's Reddit, there's you know, other websites, there's fan sites as well, like, you know, Omnom and Percy's and Percy Meets Archeage. So make sure to take advantage of the other community aspects that we have.
Awesome. So there you go, guys. Some more hard and fast rules there. Pretty much don't call out and don't be like cussing out Tryon World employees, and you should be pretty good there. Constructive criticism is always welcome. So yes, if something is bad, don't just say this thing is stupid, freaking like,
it's stupid,
but like give some feedback on how to change it and make it better, rather than just say like this thing sucks, like F this. Like, give some feedback on how to make it better. They may not be able to act on it, but that will definitely get further in the chain line rather than you getting a form ban or temporary ban or anything like that. So, what about
None of us want that.
Yeah.
Nobody here wants that. Yeah.
They don't want to ban you guys. Contrary to what many people probably believe, they don't want to ban you.
It's the worst part of my job, basically.
So, let's go back into gameplay here for like loyalty store, especially for the fresh start. There's not that many items on there when you look at it from maybe like 6 months ago when you guys took a lot of the stuff out to kind of clean it up. Are we going to see a lot more items to the loyalty store? Like, I don't know if the pace is just not fast enough for the people here on the fresh start. Even though you can't really accumulate that much loyalty that quickly, I think people just want to have more options available, and they're kind of disappointed that there's not as many costumes or gliders or whatnot on there to choose from right now. So any words on new items coming, maybe increasing the frequency of items on the Fresh Start server for some of the legacy items that have been released in the past, to bring them back?
When it comes to the loyalty store, we're going to continue to follow the same pattern we've been doing already, you know, bringing back costumes that we're selling or costumes over time as they are released in, you know, Fresh Start and Legacy, and they'll be added back to those stores. We understand that people really want to have more things to spend their items on, so we are, of course, looking at other items, you know, what can we change about those stores to make them fun and incentivizing. And that goes for things like the Merit store as well. I know someone was asking in that thread about the Merit shop, for example.
And also login badges.
Login badges too, you know, those are another form of currency that people like to use, and they want to make sure they're getting value out of it. So we do want to keep looking for new items. That said, like I know one person was saying like, I really want to see the Ionod, full Ionod scrolls in there.
Yeah.
And that's something like we maybe don't want to do because that could be abused by alternate characters. That could change the balance of the economy. So for something like that, we already have a way that Ionod scrolls are much more easily attainable in-game for the North American version, which is the Ionod scrap system, and that was introduced for us specifically. But at the same time, we still want to find more items that can go in the stores that have more of an impact on what people are spending. So, short term, probably no changes to loyalty stuff, but it will continue to evolve and we'll add to it over time. So you have more stuff to grab and more excitement to have when you're garnering those types of currencies.
Awesome. So then, like, going back to a previous point of like community feedback is obviously taken into consideration. So if there potentially is enough feedback on the forums, threads, media, like we want Ionod like scrolls on there, like enough of this, would that be more pushed to the forefront of like, okay, maybe we'll put it for like 1,000 or 1,500? Like, could the community essentially demand this so much that you guys are like, wow, they want this, we might bring it back? Or is kind of like Ionod scrolls kind of completely off the chart there?
It's a bit of both. When the community really wants something, I mean, great example is the event
costume people really want.
Which one? The
Succubus.
Oh, the Succubus costume. That's not currently. It's currently under review. I know people are always like, oh, they don't want to bring that one out. No, that one's being looked at, and it's currently under review for when we can possibly release it. But we also are looking at. Sorry, we'll go back to the question again because we started talking about the Succubus costume. I got briefly thrown off track.
Would it be possible for the community to, if there was enough demand for it, like out there, social media, for like certain items? Would that be something that you guys would be like, okay, people really want, for example, say the Ionod scrolls. It doesn't have to be that, but just anything in general. Like, there's enough demand. People are really asking for it. We weren't initially really going to do this, but it seems like people want it. Maybe we'll release it at a really high price point and see how things go, because obviously you don't want to affect the economy too much. For example, the Ionod, you got the scrap system, and maybe releasing it for something like really high, like 1,000 or 1,500 merit badges, and then just seeing how it goes, like there type thing. Would that be something?
It's a little bit of both, like community feedback is important, and that stuff is always taken into account. But we also have to take into account the state of the game and how that might impact how the game is played, how it might be used by other players. Like especially if it's being used by a lot of alt characters and getting some people ahead while other people aren't getting ahead because of it now. Like that might be something we may not want to go after because it will provide a bad experience, and we don't want to do that. So we're always looking for those solutions that can provide the best experience for the largest amount of people. And community feedback is absolutely a part of that, but there's much more to take into account when considering anything like that.
Alright, so what about Mirage Isle? I know there's a lot of empty tents out there. Do you know of any new items that are like coming in the near future, or plans to kind of change Mirage at all? Or
for that one, it's probably going to stay the way it is for a period of time. We're not looking at changing anything about Mirage right now. And the main reason for that is, as much as we love Mirage Isle's idea of being a visual marketplace, that area in the game where you can go, see something, and then buy it right there, like that's awesome. But it also takes development time to actually do. It takes someone to sit down, make a new model, or change existing models, rig up new functionality in Mirage. That's an engineer, that's an artist, that could be UI design, because new UIs might be being called. So with all that in mind, it comes down to, what do we want to do? Do we want to put developers on making those new things in Mirage? Or do we put those same developers on making new things for the game at large? And I think more people are going to say, what would you like? Would you like to see more things in Mirage? Or would you like to see new additions to the game, Jason?
Yeah, so personally, I'd like new additions to the game. So obviously Mirage would be a lower priority there,
unfortunately.
And kind of just gets pushed to the wayside, new content. So I can see that going for sure.
Yeah.
What about, I know recently, I think it was the January update, you guys increased the fire and wave Lunarites out of the crates, the lock boxes. And that was a big community concern, and it still actually is a community concern. A lot of people think it's way too expensive to gem, because gemming is also very, very hard to get that lucky proc and get those socket in there. You could burn a lot of money or honor spending to get those sockets in there. Any plans on increasing the amount of Lunarites in the world, specifically fire and wave Lunarites?
There are plans and there are discussions around that. In fact, it made it into my community deck and into our decks for next week's business meetings. So yes, we immediately saw that, and that was a big call out for next week's discussion. So it's definitely being brought up, and definitely we want to have it addressed in the most appropriate way possible.
Are you looking at like events to temporarily help this, or are you looking at like just overall fixes? Because I know personally in the beginning, a lot of people are like, the lock boxes don't drop, like they're very, very low. Like, why don't we have the Korea drop rates? Like, supposedly in Korea they drop like crazy. You get like 5 every 100 kills or something like that.
Right.
Like, I don't know, I don't play in Korea, but they're like, we got the shaft essentially on the drop rates, and then you guys said that like it's the same, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah.
So are you looking at potentially like increasing the lock boxes? Because like that would have a great effect, I think, on the economy. The keys would then become more valuable, and then it would shift out more things like that. So are you looking at all those avenues of potentially limits, lock boxes, more dropping? And
I mean, you bring up a lot of great ideas, right? And those are all the ideas that we're tossing around, and we're talking with the development team on. So it's going to be a conversation. It's going to be sort of a back and forth to see what direction do we want to take, but they're all absolutely possibilities.
And sadly, though, with the conversation, it's going to take some time. I'm assuming probably a few weeks at least.
At least, those major changes will come during monthly updates. So if we can't make it for this month, then might have to wait for the next month.
And then also on that token, Mysterious Starter Powder is a very hotly topic item.
It's right below in the deck, actually. I was like writing everything like, oh yeah, Fire Wave Lunarite, Mysterious Garden Powder. Like, these are items people want to see more drop rates out of. Royal Seeds, for example, are another great one. People are constantly talking about changing the drop rates, increasing the efficiency of larders, especially as larders right now, aren't as used by the economy, and we want to see if we can jumpstart that and get it back to where people are reinvesting in that system. So yes, all of that is like sort of being tossed about and definitely being considered.
Awesome. So hopefully we'll see changes in the near future, next couple months on those.
Yep.
Awesome. What about the Drought of Forgiveness? I know we talked about this last time. It was kind of like, everyone thought it was too low of a value and like too easy to get. Potentially changing like the honor prices and things, and talking to XL. Has anything happened on the Drought of Forgiveness, like kind of fronts? You got any information about?
Yeah, it's still in that position where we're looking at the gold values, we're looking at the ease of access, we're looking at the effect it's having on people flipping back and forth. On our personal team's opinion, we actually would rather remove Droughts of Forgiveness from the game. We are really not fans of the system. We really like to have consequence in the game. So if it was completely up to us, we probably would go in that direction. But because we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the larger community and the game, we're still taking some time to consider how that's going to go. It is, I keep saying it's part of the next week's business meeting, but it is part of next week's business meeting, and that's something that's going to be, we're going to learn more on as we move forward into the future.
Okay, so those things are all definitely on topic there.
Yep.
Coming up soon.
I mean, that's why Crowell's not here, right?
He's meeting with XL Games right now, right?
Well, so next week.
Next week, nice. Okay, so what about like arenas too? Because arenas have seen some highs and lows, especially the fives. Q5s was a big thing. Maybe I think even before your time of archeage, Q5s was huge, and then it died off a lot. And there's still some people to this day that they love fives and that small group PvP aspect of the game. And then even 1v1s has a niche market, and streamers of course like 1v1s because it's something they can do non-stop potentially. But the Bruiser badges kind of prevented streamers from non-stopping 1v1s. any changes in the Bruiser Badge system, anything about incentivizing like maybe other arena types, 5v5s, anything for arenas essentially you got for us?
Yeah, so I mean that's a question that's been definitely outstanding, and we definitely have heard a lot of the community feedback of we'd rather like have Bruiser Badges for gold, we'd rather have Bruiser Badges for honor. My mistake, we already have it for gold. Bruiser Badges for honor, or removing the Bruiser Badge system, or reducing gains after a certain amount of arena matches. Those have all been brought up and sort of pitched to us, and we've definitely done the same thing within the team, being like these are definitely viable ideas. But at the same time, we want to make sure that people are getting out into the open world, participating in world PvP, world events, and things like that. We don't want to move everyone into 1v1, 5v5 instance arenas. The bread and butter of archeage is being in an open world environment and having these massive conflicts. So we want to keep that at the forefront of the game. So no new exact information as of yet, but as I mentioned before, that community deck, Bruiser's Badges have reappeared in recent times within that deck in order to be further, discussed and theorized upon. So I won't be surprised if you start hearing more stuff about that, especially as the community has been posting more about that recently.
So for that, that's great to hear. Sadly, no definite information. One of the things that I think could help with Bruiser Badges for honor would be like making them like maybe 50 or 100 higher than like what you would win out of an arena. So like, I mean, if you're a good arena player, you can almost endlessly play because like you'll be getting just a little bit less, and then I don't think it would take too much to implement that into the honor store of like here, rather than completely like, okay, we're changing the honor values of this, like, if you just make it like, I don't know what the honor values are for winning. I don't do arena, sorry guys. But we'll say if honor is like 500 for a win.
Jason, do more arenas.
I do more arenas. No, I get killed instantly, so it would just be free wins for someone else. So we'll say
I give them so.
We'll say for example, if winning is 500, make the Bruiser Badge 600. That would be kind of like, I think, a fair trade-off where if you're a good player, you can get 500 for winning. It only cuts you a little bit, and you can almost endlessly do that for streaming purposes or whatever purposes that you really want to do. And because the thing with archeage is that it's so big that one person, you literally can't do do everything in the game. Like, you have your niches, you got your arena players, you got your open world PvPs, and not necessarily like they do overlap somewhat, but there's a lot of arena players that just like arena and just want to run arena, and they don't even care about open world PvP.
That's what a lot of feedback, that's what we've really been looking into. Some people really really love that style of life. They love that PvP game in those arenas and not in the open world. So those people are absolutely being, considered when we're making these types of decisions.
On arenas, Dark Runner OP comes up very, very often. Got any advice on that? Because I know you don't really do class balance changes and things like that. Any tips for taking on Dark Runners, or
roll a Abolisher?
Roll a Abolisher.
That's like one idea. I mean, Will's more of the builds guy over here, with his box band, and I'm more of like the scrub who plays Paladin, right? And sort of like fights off everybody else. What do you do when you find a Dark Runner? Because I know what I do. I die. I die real fast.
But like, I sit in my house and craft items, so I don't really find Dark Runners unless it's my guildie over here who's doing armor crafting as well. So I don't really run into this problem of Dark Runners being OP because like, I run around with starter gear for the most part, but yeah.
I mean, defense definitely offers like counter to the Dark Runners, mobility and insanity. Removing mobility is always important because if you can get that Dark Runner nailed down, you definitely lose a lot of that viability. But at the same time, like, if you want information on like class balance changes, we're definitely moving towards like the Korean version for that. So if it gets changed in the Korean version, it's something we're going to carry over to the main version here in the United States and in Europe. But it's not something that we are ourselves going to make changes on. That's up to the design team, who has many more developers and expertise surrounding what changes they want to make within the game's made up. So
I do know that someone noted that like there was some skill changes that happened. Like, I don't know if it was animation or whatnot, but now Endless Arrows isn't firing really fast for many people. Hopefully you know more about what recently went on with the tweaks there, because I personally don't know this, and I apologize to you guys. So do you know kind of like what changed in the system there?
So a couple patches back, XL made some changes to the way endless arrows and sort of the rapid fire skills work. They want to reduce the speed on them overall in order to bring them more in line across all of the regions. So some people are really into that, some people are really not. We've let them know, but it also, like, that's more their ball. If that's something they want to do, then they're gonna like follow through with it. And if any further changes come to it, it will come from the Korean version first.
So there wasn't anything like kind of specific for the North American EU region that happened. It was all kind of like a general overview from XL Games. Skill and balance changes.
Yep. That's sort of the stuff that's been moving across.
So I think people are kind of like saying it's a bug because some endless arrows fire faster, and they're like it's not ping related. So like
no, it's not a bug.
It's not a bug.
This is a change.
This is a change.
It was moved in an earlier update.
Okay, so even if they see other people potentially firing faster, it just kind of skill queue-ish.
Skill queue is still in the game, so some people do fire faster, and you'll always fire faster if you're with larger groups who will make their combat more quickly. That's part of what the system does.
Okay.
So there's still definitely that variance, but we understand people aren't firing at that maximum speed that they may have been firing at before.
Okay, well, I think that roughly does everything here. Thank you so much for your time.
Jason, thank you so much for coming by. As always.
I will talk to you guys at PAX PAX West many months from now, hopefully.
Yep. But if you guys have any more questions or things you want to bring up, please drop by the forums. I'm there. Quill, hiding behind me. He's going to be over there too. We'll try to answer the questions as we see them and get more information on them. So we really like having you guys in our community. We really love the questions you put forward. So thank you very much for playing, and thank you very much for everything you do in the game.